Welcome everyone to la chaîne géopolitique. Best wishes for this new year, for this new 2021 year. So best wishes of health and success to you and to your family. So we will review today all events that are affected by the change of administration in the United States. So we will review all those conjunctural events, like for example the end of the blockade to Qatar, but also we will review other events like the Iranian issue and many other events that are affected by once again by this change of administration. So today let's talk about this end of the blockade towards Qatar, which started, for as a reminder, on on 5th of June 2017, so meaning just 4 months after the that President Trump arrived in power. And it was absolutely not a coincidence, actually, that this blockade has been implemented just when President Trump came to power, just due to the fact that President Trump has totally changed the paradigm of the foreign American policy towards Middle East. In particular, he favored the Saudi and Emirati interest at the expense of the Qatari interest. Despite that the previous administration had a much more balanced, actually, approach with the Middle East, different Middle East actors, due to the fact, for example, that as a proof of that, it's that Qatar has the largest US based in the world. So it means that Qatar entertained a very cordial and warm relation with the United States before that the blockade. So the blockade has totally changed the relationship, the diplomatic ties between US and Qatar, due to the fact is that US has favored once again Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. But now that President Trump is leaving the office over the next days, the Saudi Arabian authorities have decided to end this blockade because they understand that this blockade so far has brought no result, as didn't bring any success to the 13 demands that has been addressed to Qatari authorities, like the closure of the Qatari satellite channel Al Jazeera or the Turkish military base. None of those demands have been met, and despite that, the blockading countries have decided to end it. So how come we are arrived to such a failure? So first of all, we have to keep in mind that from the Saudi perspective, actually the blockade was aimed to prevent cozy relationship between the Islamic Republic of Iran and Qatar. But actually, during this blockade, Qatar had to use the Iranian airspace due to the fact that the Saudi and Emirati airspace was closed to the flight of Qatar Airways. So Qatar Airways paid some fees to the Iranian state to use the Iranian airspace, and besides that, also Qatar had to import some food from the Islamic Republic of Iran at the border. The land, the only land border with Qatar, with Saudi Arabia, was closed, and so the food had to be brought from Iran or from Turkey. So we see that the blockade has the absolutely opposite effect that the one was expected from the blockading countries. And so after 3 years and a half, Saudi Arabia came to the conclusion that it's high time to end this blockade before that Biden comes to the office and will redefine the new foreign policy And in order not to be sidelined actually and sanctioned by the new administration, so it was high time to find an agreement right now. So that's why the Saudi authorities pushed also the Emirati and Bahraini and Egyptian authorities to end the blockade. But you have to keep in mind that you have to bear in mind that those authorities, the Emirati, Bahraini, and Egyptian, were much more reluctant than the Saudi. Saudi had a much more pragmatic approach, as we mentioned, with due to the new administration in the United States. But Emirati had a different views than the Saudi due to the fact that for Emirati, the certain demands that we just referred a bit earlier in the video was actually set by the Emirati authorities. For them, it was essential that those certain demands should be met, like that, ending this blockade without any result, it means that they have to admit a failure in their approach, and it's very difficult. You can imagine for the Emirati authorities or Bahraini authorities to admit such a failure, but due to the insistence and the pressure from Saudi authorities, Emirati have reluctantly decided to sign this solidarity and stability agreement, which has been signed on Tuesday in the GCC, so Gulf Cooperation Countries Summit in Saudi Arabia, with the physical attendance of the Qatari leader, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, who came to Saudi Arabia for the first time since more than 4 years. And we saw at the arrival of the Qatari leader that the Saudi crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud, who hugged his Qatari counterpart, and it symbolically ended this blockade, and also which has had also some practical consequences with the reopening of the border between Saudi Arabia and Qatar. And next week, the flights between Saudi Arabia and Qatar will resume. So we see that this blockade ends as quickly as it began in June 2017, due to some pragmatic approach. However, it will be very interesting to see whether this rapprochement, whether this end of blockade will be long-lasting, whether the rift will be healed between parties. I'm not referring also to the big resentment between people. I remind also to the viewers that the Qatari people have lost all their properties that they acquired in Saudi Arabia, in the United Arab Emirates. All of those property were seized by the blockading countries. I'm not talking also about that all those students who went to study to all those blockading countries had to return within 48 hours to their home countries. So we see a lot of resentment probably between people, but also we have to see at the level of leaders whether there will be also some resentment, whether they will be able to heal those 3.5 years of blockade, and whether things could come back as normality as it was before the blockade. We will continue to follow all those developments in the Middle East.